The NBC exec regret paying Jimmy Fallon $80 million contract extension as Fox News' Greg Gutfeld beats Tonight Show in ratings. The Tonight Show host, Jimmy Fallon, is reportedly losing the rating war to Fox News rival Greg Gutfeld. The show is currently drawing in less than 1.3 million viewers compared to Gutfeld's 2.5 million. Damn. And even less than Stephen Colbert's late show on CBS. Fallon signed $80 million out of 5-year extension with NBC nearly 19 million months ago, but has attracted 30 million subscribers to his YouTube channel. And but this does not drive up ad rates for the regular show. There had already been shakeups in the production staff, and Fallon's contract may not protect him from further changes. NBC may consider buying out Fallon's contract and replacing him with a host who can bring in more viewers.
Pat,
Tom.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I found this really interesting today because I saw Fallon, and then I saw like 3 other articles on big payouts going to NFL coaches getting fired. And this guy, Matt Rule of Carolina Panthers, he had gotten a 4-year extension for $40 million. So what happens is at the peak, NBC or the NFL or another sports league, they give these guys big extensions. And then they don't play out. So suddenly Jimmy Fallon basically goes 1-8 to start the year. He's not driving his ad rates up. His YouTube channel isn't helping the Tonight Show because they're saying, wow, he's on social media. He's got this and this, and it's helping us. And so there's a real little mini case study here. But the NFL has it right. I looked up into NFL contracts. This is very interesting. And it doesn't sound like NBC did this with Fallon. We were talking about non-compete yesterday.
Yep.
Right? Well, in the NFL, when you get fired, it's called please compete. And let me explain what that means. Please compete with me. In the NFL, Matt Rule, under the terms of his agreement, which is with the team, but there's also a jurisdictional element with the NFL, Matt Rule is going to get that $40 million. But from who? In the NFL, what they put in contracts, if you're under the age of 60, what's called the mitigation clause, you have to go out and find another job. You have to. And the NFL has got a whole team of lawyers and investigators that follow you around. And they're actually making phone calls for you, getting you hooked up with colleges or other teams. You want to know why? Let's say, Pat, you're the owner of the Carolina Panthers. You're on the hook, per the contract, for $40 million from Matt Rule because you're firing him after a 1-4 start and he lost the locker room. Get out. So it's one of the rare firings in the middle of the season. Well, you're on the hook for 40, unless maybe he goes back to Baylor and gets a 5-year, $20 million contract. That gets deducted from the 40. You don't have to pay.
So you only owe 20.
So you only owe him 20. Exactly right. And so this happens all over the place in the NFL. Cliff Kingsbury, Arizona Cardinals. People realize, he had a $20 million extension. They owe him 20, unless Cliff gets another job.
But Tom, let's stay on this topic here. So it's interesting you're saying this. So in other words, if you mean to tell me if somebody right now called NBC and said, hey, if CNN called NBC, they don't have the money to, but if CNN called NBC and said, hey, we'll take that contract away from you, just ship him to us. You mean to tell me they can't take that money away from NBC and pay that to them?
Typically, we don't know what the fine print of Jimmy Fallon's contract says, but typically in media, they pay the money to keep Fallon on his couch, just in case. They wouldn't want him to go to CNN and maybe blow up and be the old Jimmy Fallon competing with them.
Wow.
They don't want that. So they'd rather pay him the money. He sits on his couch, figures out what projects he's going to do, what he's going to invest in. He probably becomes a producer, executive producer, starts putting money into things that he wants to do. But the NFL's got it figured out. Instead of non-compete, it's please compete. Go get another job tomorrow.
What a great concept for NFL. I mean, I understand what that means. Go take the money elsewhere. Go make the money elsewhere. But for Greg Gutfeld, so NBC is free cable, isn't it? It's free TV. Anybody has access to it.
Sure. Anything you buy.
It's Fox News free cable. It's not. You have to pay for it, right? Yeah. You have to pay for cable to watch Greg Gutfeld. So let me get this straight. The one with the free audience is losing the one that you have to pay to watch it
100%.
By 2x. That, by the way, that is absolutely embarrassing to think about. And
Greg
can
Gutfeld's
you
most successful producer, the most successful producer right now in all of the universe of cable and television is Greg Gutfeld. He created The Five. He owns a big chunk of that show. He's the most successful and the biggest viewership. He's king right now.
And Pat, going off of what Adam said too, Pat, you know why?
Check to see what what Kimmel is getting. Kimmel is getting to see if he's beating both of them combined.
And
Please
Pat,
continue.
when people say,
numbers
and when
for you,
people
Pat.
say why, you know why Pat
Why?
Gutfeld is out there, Tom? When you watch him on that couch, and
Yeah.
that's who he is there. And when he walks into your house or you're partying, he's that same guy. When you watch CNN and shit, you think, like, would you want to be at a party and see any of these anchors from Lemon or whenever Cuomo's in there? They have an agenda, bro. People like real shit. You know why Tucker's up there? Because Tucker's the same off as he is on. CNN and all these networks, bro, they're not. And that's why these guys are killing it. And they're baffled why CNN and all these left-wing political people are going down, bro. Look at this.
Adam.
Yeah, well, I just let's just kind of go back a second. Okay, just think about where we're at in America right now. This is actually
Here we go.
Here we are, guys. Kumbaya. Not too long ago, 40 years ago, the beginning of our lifetime, there was one king of late night. His name was Johnny Carson.
Best.
If you made
Here's
it, here's Johnny.
Yeah.
And it was like the Walter Cronkite for news in the 60s, what have you. Johnny Carson in the 70s, 80s, there was, like, if you made it onto Carson as a comedian,
That was it.
or as a performer, that's it, done. You're
Career.
now famous.
I remember comedians would do their 4-minute bit, and if they got invited to the couch,
You were made.
Yeah, that
it
was,
was
a
like
big
you
deal.
were a made
I mean,
man.
Tom, when you made it to the couch that one time in
Yeah.
1976,
Yeah.
when you started off in comedy, it
Yeah.
was like
The best.
groundbreaking. That was the Biz
That's why
Doc
he
started
did-
right
It was
there.
it.
That's
The
how
Biz
you
Doc
made
was
it
born.
here.
That's what
Thank
he's-
God the Biz Doc's here today, fired up. But now we're at a point in America now where there's so much competition. Every single one of these, then it went from Carson and went to Leno and Letterman. It was now that was two guys,
Yeah.
right? Now you have in the rankings of order, you have Colbert, Fallon, Kimmel, Seth Meyers,
Coco.
and
Yep.
who's Coco?
Conan O'Brien.
Oh, Conan O'Brien was the best.
he's-
the best.
he was-
the best.
yeah. Out of all
love
of
that
them,
guy.
he got what he got. The
But now
TBS
it's
contract.
so
right?
saturated, and they're all kind
I
of
like him a lot.
cannibalizing each other. Each of these shows, like if you add up their numbers, Colbert's at 2.1 million, Fallon's at 1.3, Kimmel's at a little over 1 million. So you're talking 4.5 collective on the big three.
Gutfeld
right?
is beating Kimmel and
Yes.
Fallon combined.
Gutfeld is at 2.3 million. So this is what I'm. This is like
The Five is the number one show on
Hey
cable.
Tom, thanks, buddy. We'll get right back to you. Thank you. Can I make my point?
Yeah, make it.
Like the Siskel and Ebert over here. But here's the deal. Gutfeld, I watched it last night, ironically. He's not a comedian.
No.
He's not funny.
No.
He's not even that entertaining. He is himself.
Exactly.
Okay? He's not a stand-up comedian.
Not at all.
He's entertaining. He's got opinions. That's great. But when you have three, this is kind of what I was saying before. When you already know where the joke is going,
Mm-hmm.
and you have three, Colbert, Kimmel, Fallon, and it just kind of... Fallon at one point was amazing with the Roots when it first started.
Yep.
They're doing the music and the carpool karaoke. Is James Corden still doing his show, by the way? I haven't seen that. But
He's trying to get into that restaurant.
he's
having a-
essentially, this is where I'm going with this. Gutfeld has Blue Ocean strategy written all over him. Everyone's going this way. Let's just go this way. And let's just stay true to ourselves.
Yep.
I'm not shocked that he's the number one king of late night, but it's not because he's super, super amazingly talented and hilarious and has awesome stuff. No, it's just that it's the same old shit over here on the left.
Yep.
And he's just going a different direction.
And you know what it got
That's why
really
he's
worse,
beating
Pat?
everyone.
I know I said it too. I've said this before. COVID killed comedy for all those people because as soon as you start dancing and going, "Hey, jab yourself with it," bye, I'm done.
Yeah, but
I'm
was
done.
Was it
I'm done.
COVID or was it Trump? Because
No,
Trump.
Trump started
It was
it.
Trump.
Trump started it. Yo, you're 100%. But COVID killed it because when they had needles on whatever, like jab yourself. What was that?
That was Colbert. That was
made
insane.
me go,
Yeah,
bye.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
done.
yeah,
Look at this shit. Put a needle in
That's
your
just
arm.
that's
Yeah.
just propaganda. But that's what I'm saying. That's
Propaganda.
where you know it was going.
Thank you. It's
Do you
over.
do you remember when Jon Stewart went on Colbert and they talked about China,
Oh my
the
God.
Wuhan lab?
How uncomfortable
How
was he?
uncomfortable was Colbert? Do you remember that?
Oh
Jon
my-
Stewart's like Jon Stewart, who is as liberal
Yes.
and
Yep.
as a bastion of liberal ideas as
Yeah.
it gets. Bill Maher, Jon
Yep.
Stewart, and he's like, "So how about that lab leak?"
Yeah.
And Colbert was like, "No, it definitely
Yeah.
came from a bat."
Oh my
He's like,
God.
bat! What bat do
Yeah.
you know?
And was that Jon
It was
Stewart?
the Wuhan.
It was Jon Stewart.
with the unkept beard and the longer hair.
Correct.
And
That's
it's
what-
like Jon Stewart's been in the tool shed behind his house for 2 years.
Yeah,
and
that
suddenly-
was it.
Just
Look at him.
focusing on
Look
9/11.
at the body language. Look how
They're
far
going
back.
to kill us all. And they're best friends, by the way.
100%.
So
Yeah.
it's I don't know. It's
Look,
that was awkward.
You guys said a lot. You made a very good point. Going back, only one option. Now there's a lot of options. The numbers you gave, Gutfeld beating Kimmel and Fallon at the same time. I do have a recommendation for NBC. There's a guy you can get for I can negotiate a good price for you guys. His name is Marcelo Hernandez.
Yes.
He's on SNL.
That's
I
our
guarantee
boy.
you, keep your eyes on him. One of those two is going to lose him. Either NBC's going to pick him up or the other guy's going to pick him up. That guy's going
I would
places.
watch that show.
I would
love
watch that show all
I
day
love
long.
That's where you're going with it.
No, I like that guy a lot. He's a talent. You know what it is? Here's one of the biggest things that happens to everybody. You have to be aware of. You have to be aware of. So you go into the NBA, first time you go into the NBA, you play against the great ones, and you say, "Oh my God, I'm on the same floor with freaking Kobe, Jordan. Oh my God, I can't believe I have to guard Jordan tonight." Imagine you just
my
gone to the
God.
NBA. You're Ruben Patterson. You're guarding Michael Jordan. You're Brian Russell, and you're guarding Michael Jordan. Or
Dominique's brother, Gerald Wilkins, the Jordan stopper.
yes, New York. And, you're gonna. So, man, so for what? How was your day today, dude? I can't even believe, dog.
Yeah.
You know, when he was doing the turn, he made that one shot. I didn't even know how to block it. I tried. I got close, but this guy, there's a reason why they come. And you're having this conversation. It's a childlike conversation, right? So, you know, you're a comedian. You get your first shot, like Marcelo called the other day, Zoom.
Yeah.
You won't believe this. I'm this, and then he picks me up. And then Chappelle calls this, and then we drive up, and then in front of this, and I cannot believe it. And I'm at Madison Square Garden. I'm like, I'm watching this guy.
Yeah.
He could have gone 30 more minutes. I would have listened to him because I'm watching a kid's dream become a reality. It's a beautiful moment to witness, man, when it becomes a reality, right? It's when you win in business. It's when you know, in so many different ways, when you become a parent the first time and you're emotional and all that, and then comes 10 years later. And then you become arrogant, ungrateful, you lose perspective, and then you're no longer that likable. Now your interview's like, yeah, we lost in the playoffs, so what? I'm still making $18 million a year. I'm going to go to my beautiful house. I'm going to go do this LeBron. Yeah, that's annoying. You know, hey, you know, you better do this or else. I don't care if I lose half my Republican voters. I don't give a shit. Your name is Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, that's annoying. It's disrespectful. Listen, man, when we come home at night, at that time, I haven't watched this since Jay Leno. I went on Leno as a 14-year-old kid just to watch the guy in Burbank.
Yeah.
We snuck in.
Yeah.
Just to see this guy perform. And anyways, you watched him. Yeah, freaking fun. He took shots at everybody. Okay? You watch Conan. He's fun to just listen to, right? These guys became propaganda type of guys. They lost it. But they also became arrogant.
Yep.
They also became know-it-alls. They also forgot how awesome it was where a Jimmy Fallon, if you go watch Jimmy Fallon's, what do you
Audition,
call it?
SNL
audition. I think you told me about
You'd
it.
be blown out of your mind.
I mean, you watch this guy, you're like, man, you want to see this guy win, right?
Talent.
So sometimes somebody, I was talking to a guy yesterday who's in deep trouble, and no, it's not Andrew Tate, although he's also in trouble, but I was talking to this other guy, and I was saying to him, that guy's going in this trail of the Fallon Kimmel trail where you're becoming annoying and you're becoming too arrogant. I'm like, who's he talking to that can kind of give him a different perspective? Because sometimes when you're in the Kimmel position or a Fallon position, you're in a web and you're stuck, and no one's telling you what you need to hear to pivot to one direction. Nobody is. Everybody around you is just telling the same. So you just keep going, then all of a sudden you become this arrogant guy that we have to fire and replace you with somebody else that's a little bit more excited to be there, that can stay childlike. This is why the people who win long term stay childlike the longest. Elon Musk is still childlike. Whoever stays childlike, not childish, childlike the longest wins. This morning, you know, we're sitting here saying what you're saying about Tom. You know what feeling I got from Tom this morning? Childlike. I got this going on, I got that going on, I got this going on, I got that going on, I got this going on, I got that going on. It's like an excited kid that's got so many things to look forward to, right? So being childlike has nothing to do with your age. It has to do with a mindset to stay fresh, especially when your job is to entertain. If your job is to make deals, who gives a shit? But if your job is to entertain, you best stay childlike. And Gutfeld, to me, every time I see him, the guy's childlike. That's why he's beating.
Do you watch Gutfeld? Any of you guys?
I've seen him. I've seen his clips. I watch him on YouTube.
Yeah.
I like his monologues. You can tell. You know what I like about his monologues? He'll say a joke. It's like, yeah, that was not a good one. Let me rip this one out. Well, you know what? That was good. Okay, you guys like that one. It's a very, he has
got a lot
relationship.
Of not good ones, so that's the
and
thing.
Pat,
He's not a
And
comedian.
you know what's different too? He's in front of a live audience.
Yeah,
There's people
yeah,
there, which adds another element to it, which I like.
I want to know, like, if you're the CBS showrunner, the executive, if you're doing NBC, ABC, and it was just to circle back 2016, 2017, it's so easy to just start shitting on Trump. It's such a weird time in America.
Yeah.
Of course you are. And believe me, they would mess with Obama nowhere near Trump. I mean, not even close. At what point does the showrunner or the producer say, hey, listen, we've officially lost half our audience. Why don't we be the ones to like bring this back in just a little? Let's say you're because Fallon doesn't go over the top like Kimmel or Colbert. So I'm just wondering, are they must see these numbers and they must be like, what the fuck are we doing?
It's Adam, I think it's laziness too, Tom, not to cut you off. I think it's laziness as a production team. Trump, like what? Why talk about anything else? Just trump it up. But I like what you said. I would want, all it took is one of them to go, guys, let everybody talk about Trump because that's all everybody's talking about. Let's just be creative. Let's go talk about other shit, not just this guy. And like I've said this before, CNN, the only way, because CNN's losing money left and right. The only way they're going to...
And center
is if, I'm telling you right now, Trump, because DeSantis, I don't know if it's going to help them. If Trump wins the election, CNN's going to be right back on top because that's all they're going to do. That's all they're going to talk about.
I think DeSantis is going to hurt everybody's ratings because there's nothing that funny about him. He's
Yeah,
just-
you
I think they gotta
Navy
get back to
SEAL.
that.
You
DeSantis got the
Navy
job
SEAL.
done.
You good Christian, wholesome man.
Let's hear from our
No,
comedian.
I think
Tom.
I think you get to the core of it. You're asking, is there a showrunner? I think they all live in a bubble. They're living in a bubble, which orange man bad, conservatives slap them, anti-vaxxers are unpatriotic, and they're loons, or they're fringe, they're right-wing fringe. When you do that, you are ignoring the mass of the audience. And I think there was a day where that was cared about. But I think media in the bubble, I honestly don't think those late night, I think they are... And to a large degree, they're reading talking points, and it is kind of propagandist. I remember Letterman's first show on CBS. After the deals were done, the big thing, they opened the Ed Sullivan Theater in New York. Letterman does his first show. He's doing his opening monologue, and Letterman had this real nostalgic sense about NBC because NBC gave him a shot. He was almost the successor to Johnny Carson. He ends up on the after Johnny Carson saw it, and it was amazing. He cracks these two jokes, and then his buddy, Tom Brokaw, NBC News guy, cameos, walks into the CBS studio, takes the big cue cards, and says, Dave, I'm really disappointed. Those last two jokes were the intellectual property of NBC. I'm taking them down the street. And he walks off the stage. And Letterman looks at the camera and says, and this was the shot for Warren Littlefield at NBC, he says, that's odd. I didn't think you could use intellectual property and NBC in the same sentence.
Oh, wow.
And it was funny, and it was truly funny. And you looked at the balance, and you looked at what Leno was doing and what Letterman was doing, and it wasn't political slap on parade. And I think they've lost that. I think now media's in a bubble, and they've lost it.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.